if you are watching this because you want the technical details of how to set up a YouTube studio, it's time to leave. This is about the business idea of a YouTube studio business. Rich came to visit me yesterday. He made a 6-hour round trip because of my incapability to set up this studio. This is the new studio. You can judge it as you will. But Rich, big 6-hour journey from you from Nottingham out into rural Essex. Do you want to just give us your highlights of the trip?
Essex Riviera. Yeah, I mean, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I went down the A1. Wonderful. No, both journeys were really, really easy, actually. And it was the sun was shining, which in England in August is a rarity, or at least this summer. So, no, it was great. Thoroughly enjoyed coming down. And I did my best. To kind of, we need, to sort you out. We need to control that natural light. But, other than that, pretty good day.
Which is blaming the natural light. I'm not going to question him. But I think what's interesting here is just the commitment of the 6-hour round trip. Rich said he was going to get there at 10 a.m. Turn up at 9:56. That's a guy with his shit together. From fucking Nottingham, 3 hours away. I honestly, in my mind, not that I don't trust you, but I thought 11:15 best case.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I got too much work to do to waste that. I was on the road at 6:45.
It's just fucking the road.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
This is the new studio. My experience of Rich setting up this studio was, as somebody that has no skill, no common sense, or no capability in the area of technology, look and feel, design, I was completely fucked. I really had no idea. But somebody that knows what they're doing will come in. They'll move your room around. That's 5 minutes. They'll get your lighting rig set up. 5 minutes. They'll go on your camera and fuck around with all the little settings. 5 minutes. They'll work out the different angles. They'll cut light out. You did 20 things that I wouldn't have even really thought of. And this rig was set up in about 40 minutes, which is ridiculous because I've been hacking around for months, cluelessly. Business idea, Rich. Can we please do this for other people? So you set up a London-based YouTube studio set up for... There's loads of people trying to do podcasts. They're trying to do even YouTube. A lot of people like me that are just got no idea about this sort of stuff. And you look at their setups and they are terrible. Set up the rig, the business model, not only the way it's set up, you buy their props for them, you advise them on the equipment. So they maybe just log in, you look at their YouTube and then you just kind of tell them what equipment they need, tell them what props they need, go in, hack the thing together, £2,000. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really interesting because when we started to do this when we started to look at it seriously in January, I had no real idea. I understand photography because I've been a published photographer, dust shoulders off, before. So I understand photography, but never done video. So I had to go and learn about what lighting, what key lighting, what side lighting is, all of that kind of stuff. And because I was a little bit ahead of it, I kind of got up to speed with it a bit. And by no means your thing is perfect yet. Like I say, we've got to control that natural light. But I think someone who was interested in it, someone who was somewhat knowledgeable and skilled about focal lengths and everything else to do with cameras, I was capable of understanding depth of field and all the rest of it. Most people don't know that, like you say. And I think there is something in the service of simply recommending beginner, intermediate. You probably don't need to go to high end because by the time you spend high end money, you already know what you're doing. So there's an equipment recommendation service, and that can be part of setting the whole thing up. So you can source the equipment for somebody, because even I sent you different mics and you still didn't do it. So I still think, there's a sourcing piece. And then there is that consultancy of structuring the studio. I mean, you can come in, you can do a basic job. You're not doing any, background effect work. You're not doing any artwork on the walls or anything. It's just simply a case of how do you set your lighting up appropriately, making sure you give them a cheat sheet of the settings that they need, so you know that when you go away, if you've messed something up, you can go and put it back. And getting people underway, because it was one of the biggest things that kept us from producing content at the beginning. In those early stages of trying to sort it out, we were restricted by our technical setup, and we probably took a good month or so, didn't we? We really did. And I think in a highly populated area where there are people who know this stuff, I think it could be really interesting. What do you think?
What's interesting to me is how do we sell this service? And I think the play here is B2B. So you go to companies where they've got multiple staff creating videos and content, and you sell it into one to then go and do it for all of their staff. So like, you can't go too big because those companies will have their own studios, but you can go to medium-sized businesses, do an outbound email strategy, and just say to them, look, I know that your 15 staff are doing videos. The studios are absolute shit. It's ruining your credibility. These are the 10 things that we would do. Book a consultation call. What do you think about that, Rich?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the good thing about this is there are tons of videographers out there. I had a few mates when I was younger who wanted to get into video but couldn't find jobs. So I think there's probably loads of people out there that are talented from this or have got this as a hobby that really know their shit but haven't found a route into doing something. May not even be content creators, but they totally understand how to set this stuff up. And I think it could be a fantastic side hustle. I think it could be a really good business. And there's all sorts of stuff, from doing the home podcast stuff to how do you actually do accurate vlogging on the road with all of that noise and everything else like that. I think there could be something in it.
Yeah, and it reminds me of commercializing a skill like photography into something where you can make money. So a lot of photographers end up in wedding photography because you can charge $3,000 a day. And what you're saying here, cool, let's videographers, to set up a studio. Well, let's do that for accountants and lawyers, people that have actually got a load of money and make money that way. Because this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. So for me, the outbound strategy is key, the business development as always. I don't think you can create content, but as you said, fucking saturated. Instead of that, let's just do an outbound strategy to these companies in London so you can get to them all. I would say if your segment was, a business with 5+ people that are doing videos, that are doing it shit, that are professional services so they have money, I would imagine there's over 20,000 target businesses that you could go after with this service. And then once you're in with the business and you're doing one person, they're going to keep needing you to upgrade those studios.
I think you could also go for people that do audio podcasts that don't have video, because there's a distribution split between audio and video. No one really knows which is more successful yet. But if you're an audio podcast producer and you're comfortable, want to get into the avenue of doing video but no idea how to set that actually up, that's also a straightforward mailing list that you could get hold of. And there's probably thousands in London of podcasts that are just audio that you could push to and say, have you thought about escalating to video?
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the idea, and I think you could charge a decent amount. I mean,
I think you could.
This studio, I think you could have charged for your services yesterday, rendered. I think you could have charged, forget the equipment, let's just say that's cost, but you could make margin. For your service, 1,000 at the absolute minimum, 1,500.
Yeah, I think when you look at the prep, because you got to look at the room, you got to look at where your light sources are coming in. So that prep stuff, imagine that technical prep to be able to plan a room. That there is pre-work in it, right? And there is pre-work. Then there's the actual understanding the equipment. So you can put the equipment list together. You're not buying it, but put the equipment list together. Then you're going to do the installation, if you will, or the setup. And then you've obviously got to do, there's a little bit of training. You've got to do that cheat sheet. You've got to go and set that up. You've got to say, look, when I'm away, this is what we do. If something happens, you email me, we jump on a video call, I'll take you through it. I think could be a potentially really neat business. And I just think there's a load of people who know this stuff that not really doing much with that knowledge.
And I really like this after sales service. So you're doing this with like some pharmaceutical company, but it's not just your one-off. It's, okay, this person wants to like change their set, or they want to do this, or the lighting's not working, or the audio's not working, and you're there is that kind of customer success element as well. It's a 500,000 to £1 million a year business within 2 years, in my opinion, if you follow that strategy.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've been in. I did some recording for a company called Rainmaking, or an offshoot of what was called Aspire then. I think it still is called Aspire. And they had a full rig. We're talking like cinema cameras, all the works of it. And there were like 8 or 9 crew there, and it was so technical. And I was like, Christ, I just don't even know how to do this. But this level, what we do to make really good quality content, and you can see YouTubers out there making quality content in terms of the visuals, audio and visuals, that better than us, and we'll get there. But it's not that difficult. It's a Sony camera, it's a Sigma lens, it's this lighting, it's that lighting, but it's the knowledge of putting it together and where to start. Because 90% of people do not know what a focal length is, do not know what a key light is, and will happily, as a business, go and say, look, there's £1,000, go and set up our studio. What we care about is our time to produce the content. I think it's really interesting, and I do think there are probably a number of people out there that could spin this up relatively quickly.
I really like this idea of the home studio, because a lot of people are thinking of this as the angle of we'll create a studio people can go to and film the video. But as you know from doing this, the value of being able to just roll into your office and create this quickly at home is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's also the value of creating these. This is probably out of scope, but you could also create these in offices. You could go to an accounting firm and turn one of their meeting rooms into a YouTube studio.
I saw I follow a company called Clout, and the CEO founder is called Amelia Sordell. She's a personal branding expert. She did a tour of her office the other day. It's in New Bond Street or somewhere in town. And one of their meeting rooms is actually that. It's dedicated to a full-time video podcast studio. And it doesn't look too dissimilar to what we've got kind of set up. But she's dedicated, and her videos are great quality. Really, really great quality. And it stands out when you look at the stuff she did a year ago to what she's doing now. It genuinely makes a difference. I think it's a really neat idea. I think if someone's sitting on that knowledge and you can get hold of that list, you can go and say, this is what I do. This is my background. I charge X amount, get up and running. We'll be ready. You'll be producing content within a week, as opposed to messing about and trying to figure it out and do all of this. Because the barrier to entry is actually, it's not significant, but it's hours of learning. And if you're not interested in it, fuck that, I just won't do it. I think you're absolutely right. There are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people out there that want to do this, but the barrier to just doing this, they're like, you know what, fuck this. That was me. I just could not bring myself to try and do this, nor would I have been able to without you. Yeah. And the interesting thing about it as well is, like, you don't have to start with too much. You can start with an iPhone. But how on earth do you stream your video from your iPhone via a Lightning connector to a Mac to do this? What software do you need? What's the best lighting kit you need? We have Canon cameras, and we'll probably upgrade to Sony's at some point. But we had a budget that we wanted to spend. So what do you do? Where's that advice? I think you'd be littered. If you could reach people, I think you'd be littered with leads for this. I really do. It's a service business, so it's not got huge scale, I guess, maybe. But it could be a great lifestyle business for sure.
The YouTube studio mentor. Somebody please go and do that.
Yeah, somebody please go and do it, and then you can critique my handiwork with Doug, and then I'll just blame him that he's changed his settings anyway.
Yeah, he's really getting up my grill around my audio this morning. Apparently my gain was too high.
I was hearing his dog breathing downstairs. Sammy was like this dog's 2 years old, by the way, and breathes like it's about 14.
Look, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, there was some interesting stuff going on in the genetics there.
I love that dog, don't get me wrong. He's a lovely hound. All right, Doug, well let's wrap up the YouTube studio. Thanks for that. And thank you for being such a lovely host yesterday. It was good. We had monkfish tacos for anyone's interested in what Doug and I ate yesterday. It's pretty good. All right, that's the end of the pod. Thanks very much, Doug. See you soon, bud.
Cheers, Rich. Boom. Okay.